God is the ultimate source of all financial supply. When we truly understand this truth, we step into a new reality where fear fades, worry dissolves, and confidence rises. Too many people believe their provision comes from human systems, employers, businesses, clients, investments, or even governments. While these may be channels through which supply flows, they are not the source. They are temporary instruments. They can open and close. They can change, grow, or collapse. But the source behind them, the infinite spirit that sustains all things, is unchanging, constant, and eternal. When we root our faith in God as our financier, we anchor ourselves in a foundation that cannot be shaken. Think for a moment about how many people lose peace when their paycheck is delayed, when a client cancels, or when a business slows down. They immediately fall into fear, wondering, how will I survive? How will I pay my bills? How will I make it through? Yet when we trust in God as the source, we remember that money is only one expression of supply. It is never the substance itself. Money is like a shadow of the real supply, which is divine substance flowing endlessly from spirit. When one channel closes, another opens. When one opportunity disappears, a greater one takes its place. The river of divine supply never stops flowing, but our fear and disbelief often block us from seeing it. To live in this truth is to walk in a higher law, the law of abundance. It means no longer being controlled by appearances. Appearances may show lack, shortage, or emptiness, but appearances are not reality. The deeper reality is that abundance is everywhere. It is woven into the fabric of creation. The earth is overflowing with resources, and spirit is overflowing with ideas, connections, and opportunities that can bring wealth into your life in ways you never imagined. When you say, God is my source, you lift yourself above the world of appearances and place your trust in the one who never fails. Every time you worry about money, you are putting your trust in man. You are giving your power to channels instead of the source. And what happens when you do that? Anxiety, fear, sleepless nights, and frustration. But when you shift your faith to God, a calm assurance takes over. You know that somehow, in ways beyond your understanding, provision will come. You no longer chase money with desperation. Instead, money begins to chase you because you are aligned with the flow of divine supply. This truth is not about ignoring practical responsibility. It is about aligning your mind and heart with the deeper law of spirit. You still work, you still engage with people, you still plan and act, but you do so from a place of trust instead of fear. You do so knowing that your efforts are not the true source of your prosperity, but simply the channel spirit uses to flow through you. Some people believe that by working harder and harder, they will secure their supply. But working without faith often leads to exhaustion and struggle. When you work with the awareness that God is your source, your labor becomes joyful, effortless, and fruitful because you know you are supported by infinite power. Consider the flowers of the field. They do not toil, they do not worry, yet they are clothed in beauty and abundance beyond human design. Consider the birds of the air. They do not gather into barns, yet they are fed every day. If God cares for them, how much more will He provide for you? You are not forgotten, you are not abandoned, you are not overlooked. The same God who sustains the universe sustains your life, your needs, and your finances. When you take hold of this truth, fear dissolves like mist before the rising sun. God's supply is limitless. It cannot run out. Human systems may declare shortages. Banks may close. Markets may crash. Currencies may rise and fall. But spirit is not limited by these fluctuations. Spirit is infinite substance. As long as you are aligned with that substance, as long as you claim your divine inheritance, you will never be without. The universe is abundant by design. Look around at the oceans that never dry, the trees that bear fruit in season, the stars that fill the sky beyond counting. Do you think the God who created such endless beauty and wealth would forget to provide for you? The idea of scarcity is a lie, and when you reject it, you step into truth. When you declare, God is the ultimate source of my financial supply, you are not begging, you are affirming what is already yours. You are recognizing your rightful inheritance as a child of the divine. This affirmation is not just words, it is a law. It sets in motion unseen forces that align circumstances, opportunities, and resources to meet your needs. It changes your vibration, your energy, your magnetism. You begin to attract what you need because you are no longer radiating fear but faith. You are no longer broadcasting lack but abundance. Every bill that comes to you is not a threat but an opportunity to affirm your source. Instead of saying, "How will I pay this?" say, "Thank you, God, that you are my financier and my supply flows without limits." Every need is a chance to deepen your trust. Every challenge is an invitation to prove the truth. The more you declare it, the more it becomes your reality. Supply shows up in ways that seem miraculous, but they are not miracles to spirit. They are simply the natural expression of divine law. When you spend money, do not spend with fear. Spend with joy, knowing that what you release will return multiplied. Money is not gone when you spend it. It circulates. It is energy in motion, and as it flows out, it flows back in greater measure. The universe operates on circulation. Give and it shall be given. Release and you will receive. The tighter you hold, the less you trust the source. But when you let go with joy and gratitude, you keep yourself in the current of endless provision. Some people think they must constantly struggle to earn every penny, but that belief comes from seeing man as the source. When you understand that God is your source, you recognize that ideas, inspiration, creativity, and divine connections are the true wealth. One inspired idea can produce more prosperity than years of grinding effort. One divine connection can open doors you never imagined. One moment of favor can erase years of struggle. These things are not accidents. They are the outworking of your faith in the source. Do not limit the ways God can supply you. If you believe supply can only come through your job, then you are restricting the channels Spirit can use. Release the limitation. Supply can come through unexpected checks, through opportunities, through gifts, through refunds, through ideas, through investments, through connections, through promotions, through channels you cannot yet see. The how is not your concern. Your part is to affirm the source, to expect abundance, and to remain open to receive in any form it comes. Think about a river. You cannot force the river to flow. You simply step into it and let it carry you. God's supply is like that river. It is already flowing. Your job is not to create the flow but to stop resisting it with fear, doubt, and unbelief. The moment you stop resisting, the river carries you. You are supported, uplifted, and provided for without strain. There may be times when appearances seem dark, when the bank account is low, when debts seem high, when opportunities seem scarce. In those moments, the temptation is strong to fall back into fear. But remember this: appearances are not the truth. Appearances are temporary. They are shadows, illusions, smoke screens. The truth is that God is your source and His supply never ends. Hold fast to that truth and you will see the shadows lift. The more you trust, the faster the supply reveals itself. The key is persistence. Keep affirming even when appearances contradict. Keep speaking abundance even when you don't yet see it. Faith is not seeing with the natural eye, it is knowing with the inner eye. And what you know within will eventually manifest without. When you hold the truth long enough, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Your financial freedom does not depend on man. It depends on your recognition of God as the source. The moment you truly know this, you are free. You are no longer bound by circumstances, no longer tied to fear, no longer enslaved by scarcity. You step into a new identity, a child of the infinite, supplied without limits, prosperous in all things. So today let this truth take root in you. Repeat it often, live it deeply, breathe it in every situation. God is the ultimate source of my financial supply. I am supported, I am sustained, I am provided for, and my supply flows without limits. Let this be your song, your declaration, your anchor. When you live by it, you will find yourself lifted above struggle, carried into overflow, and blessed beyond measure. When we open our hearts to the truth that divine supply is limitless and unending, we unlock a door that leads to peace, freedom, and prosperity. So much of the world believes in limitation. People believe in recessions, shortages, and lack, but all of these are merely appearances, temporary shadows that dissolve before the eternal light of truth. The truth is, there is no end to the supply of good. It is infinite, as boundless as the sky, as vast as the sea, as eternal as the love of God. When we remember this, we are freed from the chains of fear, worry, and scarcity, and we begin to live in alignment with the abundance that has always been our divine inheritance. Consider for a moment the great oceans. Their waves roll endlessly to the shore. No matter how many billions of cups of water are drawn from them, they are never depleted. Or think of the air that surrounds us. Each of us breathes in and out, millions upon millions of times across the planet every moment, and still the air is inexhaustible. Nature itself testifies to the law of endless supply. It is man through doubt and fear who imagines limits. But God is the source and God cannot be exhausted. Divine supply is like a fountain that never runs dry. The more you trust it, the more it pours into your life. When you believe in lack, you place a veil over your own eyes. It is not that supply has stopped flowing, it is that you cannot see it or receive it. But when you affirm, with unshakable faith, that divine supply is limitless and unending, that veil is lifted, and channels of provision appear in ways you could never have predicted. What you need comes at the perfect time, in the perfect way, and often in far greater measure than you expected. The law of divine supply works beyond human reasoning. It is not confined to salaries, clients, or business ventures. These are but channels, temporary expressions of the greater source. The source itself cannot run out. So many people live in fear because they have placed their trust in man-made systems. They believe their job is their source, or their savings account is their source, or the economy is their source. And when these things shake, they are shaken. But when you know that God is your financier and that divine supply has no limits, then you stand unshaken. Even when appearances falter, a channel may close but another opens. A door may shut but a gate swings wide in its place. The flow of good can never be cut off because the source is infinite and eternal. To live in this truth is to walk in freedom. It is to know that every bill you face already has its supply waiting. Every debt already has its provision assigned. Every dream already has the means of fulfillment prepared. You need not beg, you need not chase, you need not cling to fear. You need only align yourself with the truth, speak it with conviction, and act in faith. Supply is not something you must create, it is already flowing, already present, already yours by divine right. Imagine the stress that falls away when you truly believe this. Instead of dreading the future, you welcome it, knowing that tomorrow is already filled with provision. Instead of clinging to every penny, you give with joy, knowing that giving opens the channels wider. Instead of saying, I don't know how I'll make it, you say, the way is already made. Supply flows to me endlessly, without interruption. This shift in consciousness is powerful. It is not wishful thinking, it is spiritual law. The mind that is filled with fear closes the channel, but the mind filled with faith becomes a magnet for divine substance. Look around at the natural world again. Trees bear fruit without struggle. Rivers flow without effort. The sun shines without asking permission. This is the effortless rhythm of divine supply. It is never rushed, never strained, never anxious. It simply flows. And when you align with that rhythm, your life becomes effortless too. What you need comes when you need it. What you desire arrives in perfect timing. Even your so-called mistakes turn into stepping stones that guide you toward greater provision. Nothing is wasted, nothing is lost, because the source is unending. Think of how many times in your own life provision has come unexpectedly. Perhaps a bill was paid in a way you could not have foreseen. Perhaps an opportunity appeared just when you needed it most. Perhaps someone gave to you not out of obligation, but out of divine prompting. These moments are evidence that supply is bigger than human calculation. They are glimpses of the limitless flow of divine abundance. When you look back and remember these times, you can rest assured that what has happened before will happen again, for the source never changes. It is important to speak this truth, to affirm it daily. Words carry power, and what you speak consistently you begin to believe, and what you believe you begin to experience. If you say, there is never enough, then lack becomes your reality. But if you say, divine supply is limitless and unending, then you align with the law of abundance. The more you affirm it, the more you believe it, and the more it shows up in your life. Speak to your circumstances. Speak to your bank account. Speak to your needs. Declare over them you are already met. Supply is flowing without limits. I live in the overflow. These words are not empty, they are seeds, and in time they bear fruit. Some may ask, but if divine supply is unending, why do people suffer lack? The answer lies not in the source, but in the consciousness of the individual. A closed heart cannot receive the rain, no matter how much it pours. Fear, doubt, resentment, and unbelief are like umbrellas that block the flow. To experience supply, you must lower the umbrella. You must trust, release fear, forgive, and open yourself to receive. Then the rain of abundance, which has always been falling, will refresh your life. Gratitude is one of the greatest ways to open the channel. When you give thanks for what you have, no matter how small, you align yourself with more. Gratitude says, I trust the source. I see the good, I welcome more, and more always comes. Worry, on the other hand, says, I do not trust, I see only lack, and so worry closes the channel. Choose gratitude over worry and you will see the limitless nature of divine supply. Generosity is another key. Many fear giving, thinking that if they give, they will lose. But in truth, giving activates receiving. The more you release, the more room you make for greater supply to enter. Money, like water, must flow to remain fresh. When you hoard it in fear, it stagnates. When you release it with joy, it circulates and returns multiplied. This is not loss. It is the law of increase. As you trust and give, you prove to yourself that divine supply cannot be exhausted. Remember also that divine supply is not only about money. It is health, ideas, opportunities, relationships, creativity, and every good thing. You are supplied with wisdom when you need it. You are supplied with strength in times of challenge. You are supplied with joy when you feel weary. There is no area of life where supply does not flow, for God withholds nothing. Every need is met because divine supply is whole and complete. Even when you cannot see the supply, trust that it is there. The farmer does not see the harvest when he plants the seed, but he knows it will come. He waters, he waits, he trusts the law. So too must you trust that your needs are already met in the unseen. Do not dig up the seed with worry. Instead, water it with faith, gratitude, and expectation, and in time the harvest will appear. The law of supply is as certain as the sunrise. As you live in this truth, you will notice your language change, your thoughts shift, and your actions align with faith instead of fear. You will no longer say, I can't afford that. You will say, divine supply provides for me. You will no longer say, opportunities are scarce. You will say, divine supply is limitless, and doors are opening to me now. You will no longer shrink back in fear of the future. You will walk forward boldly, Knowing the future is already supplied, and as this shift deepens, miracles become your daily experience. Money comes in unexpected ways. Relationships flourish. Health improves. Creativity blossoms. Solutions appear. Life itself becomes a stream of provision, flowing ceaselessly, abundantly, joyfully. The fear of lack disappears, and with it, the heavy weight of worry. You discover that you are carried by an eternal current, and nothing can separate you from it. So let this truth take root in your heart. Divine supply is limitless and unending. No matter what appearances may say, no matter what the world may claim, the source of all good is infinite. Stand in this truth. Speak it daily. Live as though it were already true, for it is. You are not a beggar at the door of the universe. You are a rightful heir to its treasures. The vaults of heaven are wide open, and your name is written upon them. Every time you face a challenge, affirm it again. Divine supply is limitless and unending. I cannot be cut off. I cannot run dry. I cannot be left without, because the source is eternal, and it is mine now. The more you affirm this, the more real it becomes in your experience. Fear dissolves, joy increases, and provision flows in ways you could never have imagined. Beloved, live in this truth today and always. Let your faith be unwavering. Let your gratitude be constant. Let your giving be joyful. And watch as your life becomes a testimony to the unending supply of God. For it is written upon the universe itself, divine supply is limitless, eternal, and overflowing. And it flows through you now, without end. Lack and limitation are illusions. This truth must be planted deeply in the soil of your heart until it becomes the very foundation of your thinking. What you see with your eyes is not the final authority. What the world tells you is not the whole story. Appearances may shout lack, but reality, in spirit, is abundance. The visible is always temporary, but the invisible is eternal. If you have eyes to see beyond appearances, you will realize that what looks like absence is only the shadow before the dawn of supply. So many live in fear because they have mistaken appearances for truth. They look at an empty bank account and conclude they are poor. They look at a closed door and believe they have been rejected. They see a temporary setback and declare failure over their lives. But these are illusions, phantoms of thought, images projected by fear. True reality is not measured in numbers on a screen, not in possessions you can hold in your hands, but in the infinite reservoir of spirit that flows toward you without ceasing. When you understand that lack is only a lie of the senses, you no longer bow before it. You rise above it with the authority of spirit. You speak to it as you would to a shadow on the wall, powerless, baseless, and unable to harm you. Just as a shadow cannot bite, cannot bind, cannot restrain you, so too lack has no real substance. It is only the projection of fear, and fear is nothing in the presence of faith. Think of the sun hidden behind clouds. The sky may grow dark, and the storm may rage, but does the sun ever cease to shine? Never. It continues in its brilliance, untouched, eternal. So it is with divine supply. Your eyes may see a temporary covering, a cloud of debt or delay, but behind it the sun of abundance burns as brightly as ever. The truth has not changed, your perception has only been momentarily obscured, and when the clouds clear, you will see that nothing was ever lost. It is your belief that makes lack appear real. Fear magnifies absence, but faith magnifies presence. When you say with conviction, lack is an illusion, my supply is eternal, you pierce the cloud with the light of truth. You call forth the hidden good that has been waiting for your recognition. Spirit responds to faith as naturally as water flows downhill. Faith is the opening, the channel, the invitation. Lack collapses when you refuse to believe in it, just as darkness flees when you turn on a light. Consider the seed planted in the earth. To the eye, nothing seems to be happening. Days pass, the soil looks bare, and one might say, there is no growth, no harvest. But beneath the surface, life is stirring. Roots are forming, energy is moving, and in time the shoot will break through the soil. To call that empty patch of ground barren is an illusion, for abundance is already on the way. So it is with your life. What looks empty is never empty. What looks delayed is never denied. The invisible work of spirit is already in motion, preparing the visible manifestation. You must therefore discipline your words and thoughts, for they are the mold of your reality. If you continually affirm lack, speak of shortage, complain of what you do not have, you strengthen the illusion and give it power over you. But if you speak abundance, if you affirm, my supply flows without limits, my good comes to me now, you tear down the illusion and call forth truth. Words are creative. Every declaration is a seed. Choose carefully what you plant, for the harvest will surely come. Lack and limitation thrive on fear, but fear is only faith turned inside out. Fear believes in loss, faith believes in gain. Fear trusts in scarcity, faith trusts in overflow. Fear says, there is not enough. Faith says, there is always more than enough. When you shift from fear to faith, you align with divine law, and the illusion of lack crumbles like dust in the wind. You no longer see yourself as a beggar hoping for scraps, but as a rightful heir to the riches of spirit. Remember this: you are not dependent on man. Man is only a channel, not the source. If one channel closes, another opens, and often a greater one. To believe that supply can be cut off because one avenue is blocked is to mistake the channel for the source. Spirit is infinite, and the ways it can reach you are without number. Hold to this truth, and the fear of limitation will vanish. There are countless stories of those who faced absolute emptiness, only to see abundance appear in miraculous ways. A bill was paid in the final hour, a job appeared when hope seemed gone, a gift arrived from an unexpected hand. These are not accidents but demonstrations of divine law. They prove that what seems like lack is never the end of the story. The illusion breaks the moment faith holds steady. The key is to live in the consciousness of abundance even before you see it. Act as though the supply is already here, for in spirit it already is. Give thanks for provision before it arrives. Spend with gratitude rather than fear. Give with joy rather than clinging to what you have. When you live in this state, you demonstrate your faith, and faith is always answered. Imagine walking across a bridge shrouded in fog. You cannot see the other side, but you keep walking step by step, trusting that the bridge continues. Soon the fog lifts, and the way is clear. Lack is that fog. It hides the abundance already before you, but if you keep walking in faith, the fog will lift, and you will see the truth. The bridge was always there, and you were always supported. To the mind rooted in appearances, lack seems undeniable. But to the spirit awakened to truth, lack is laughable. How can you be poor when you are connected to infinite supply? How can you be bound when spirit is freedom itself? How can you be empty when the creator of all things dwells within you? Poverty, scarcity, limitation, they are lies. Lies have no substance. The moment you stop believing them, they vanish. You must train your imagination as well, for it is the blueprint of manifestation. Do not use imagination to picture lack or rehearse fear. Instead, imagine yourself surrounded by abundance. See yourself paying every bill with ease. See yourself blessing others with generosity. See yourself living free, prosperous, and joyful. What you vividly imagine with faith becomes the mold into which spirit pours substance. The illusion cannot stand against the power of a clear, faith-filled vision. Let gratitude be your constant song. Gratitude dissolves the illusion of lack faster than anything else. When you give thanks for what you have, no matter how small, you open the door to more. You shift your focus from absence to presence, from emptiness to fullness, and spirit multiplies what you acknowledge. Gratitude is the language of abundance, and it calls forth increase wherever it is spoken. So today, rise above appearances. Look past the illusion. When you see an empty wallet, say, "This is not the truth. My supply is infinite." When you face a debt, declare, "This is only a shadow. My abundance is already on the way." When opportunities seem few, affirm, "Channels may be hidden from sight, but spirit has prepared more than I can imagine." Do not bow to the false gods of worry and despair. Stand in the authority of faith and declare the truth. You are not called to survive on scraps. You are called to live in overflow. You are not meant to fear tomorrow. You are meant to rejoice in the eternal today. Spirit does not ration its blessings. The river of good never runs dry. The only thing that can cut you off is your own belief in the illusion of lack. Tear down that belief, and the floodgates open. Therefore, affirm daily, lack is an illusion. Limitation is a lie. My supply is endless. My abundance is now. Say it in the morning. Say it in the evening. Say it when fear whispers. Say it when doubt knocks. Say it until your mind is so saturated with truth that the illusion cannot touch you. You will find that as you practice this, miracles begin to unfold. Money arrives in unexpected ways. Debts dissolve with ease. Doors open where walls once stood. People are moved to bless you. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. What once seemed impossible becomes natural. This is the demonstration of truth in action. Remember always, lack and limitation are illusions. They cannot bind you unless you believe in them. Withdraw your belief and they dissolve. Place your faith in spirit and abundance flows. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a creator with divine authority. Align with truth, and your life will bear witness to the reality of limitless supply. So rise up, speak boldly, and live as one who knows the truth. Let the world see in you the testimony that God is your unfailing source. Refuse to bow to the lie of lack. Rejoice in the river of plenty. And as you walk in this truth, abundance without measure will flow into your hands, your life, and your destiny. For lack and limitation are illusions, and you, beloved, are heir to infinite supply. When you hold steadfast to faithful affirmation, you invite the invisible power of divine substance to take form in your life. Affirmations are not empty words, they are creative decrees that set spiritual law into motion. Every time you declare with conviction, "God is my financier, my supply flows without limits," you are chiseling away the stone of doubt and uncovering the treasure of truth that already exists. What is spoken in faith becomes embodied in form, for the word carries life, and life responds to the word spoken with certainty. There are those who speak half-heartedly, repeating affirmations with doubt in their minds, and they see little result. But when the heart and the lips are united, when belief and spoken word become one, then the invisible shifts. Heaven responds not to idle chatter but to steadfast conviction. Faithful affirmation is like planting seeds in fertile soil. The more consistent, the more faithful, the more unshakable you are in declaring abundance, the quicker the harvest comes. Consider how often people affirm lack without even realizing it. They say, "I can't afford this. Money is tight. There's never enough." These two are affirmations of shortage, declarations of fear. And as sure as faithful affirmation of abundance attracts supply, faithful affirmation of lack attracts more lack. Spirit is no respecter of persons, but it does respond to the vibration of your words and beliefs. That is why it is vital to guard your tongue, for the tongue is the rudder that steers the ship of your life. When you choose to affirm the truth of God as your limitless source, you are realigning your life with divine order. Affirmations are not mere wishful thinking. They are commands to the subconscious and signals to the universe that you are ready to receive what is yours by right. The invisible law of supply always waits to be called forth, and affirmation is the call. Imagine a reservoir of water behind a dam. That reservoir is vast, full, and pressing against the gates. Your faithful affirmation is the key that opens the floodgates. Without the key, the water remains unseen, but the moment you declare in faith, the gates swing wide and the current rushes forth to meet you. The supply was always there. It only awaited your permission to flow. Many say they believe in abundance, yet their speech betrays them. They speak faith in the morning and doubt by noon. They affirm prosperity today and complain of bills tomorrow. This double-mindedness delays demonstration, for affirmation requires faithfulness. Faithfulness means steadfastness, consistency, a refusal to waver no matter the outer appearance. Even if the bank account appears low, the affirmation remains. My supply is limitless. God is my source, I receive now my good. The more you persist, the sooner the invisible aligns with the visible. Faithful affirmation also demands imagination. You must see and feel the truth you are speaking. Words without feeling are dry, but words spoken with vision and emotion stir the depths of your being. When you affirm, "I am richly supplied. Wealth flows freely to me," let your mind paint the picture. See the bills paid with ease. See the opportunities unfolding. See the joy of giving and receiving. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the excitement. This emotional conviction magnifies the power of the word, and heaven rushes to confirm it. Affirmations are not bound by human logic or time. Some think, if I affirm today, perhaps in weeks or months I will see results. But supply can appear instantly, for spirit is not bound by delay. The moment you truly accept and embody the affirmation, manifestation can be immediate. Sudden gifts, unexpected income, a new opportunity, a debt erased. These are the fruits of faithful affirmation. What takes time is not the law itself but your readiness to fully believe. The key lies in repetition with faith. Just as water wears down stone with persistence, so your faithful words carve pathways of abundance through the walls of resistance in your mind. Each affirmation is a stroke of the hammer breaking the shell of doubt, until finally the treasure bursts forth. You may not see results after one or two affirmations, but keep striking, keep declaring, keep speaking, and suddenly what seemed impossible becomes effortless. Never underestimate the power of small, consistent affirmations. A single drop of water may appear insignificant, but countless drops carve valleys and shape landscapes. Likewise, daily faithful words shape your destiny. Speak in the morning, speak at night, speak whenever fear tries to creep in. Let your inner dialogue be saturated with truth so that no space remains for fear to take root. Faithful affirmation attracts provision because it shifts your vibration. Spirit responds to your state of being. When you affirm in faith, your vibration rises to match abundance. You no longer radiate desperation or fear, but confidence and joy. Opportunities, people, and resources are drawn to that vibration, like iron to a magnet. You may call it coincidence, but it is law. Affirm faithfully, and the law arranges circumstances in your favor. Some may ask, how long must I affirm before I see results? The answer is simple: until you no longer need to affirm, because the truth has become your natural state. When affirmation becomes knowing, when you no longer declare abundance as a hope, but as a fact, then manifestation is inevitable. At that moment, you have crossed the bridge from belief to certainty, and supply must appear. Let us remember that faithful affirmation is not begging or pleading with God. God does not withhold supply, waiting for the right words to be spoken. The supply is already yours, already given, already overflowing. Affirmation is not about convincing God. It is about convincing yourself. It is about removing the fog of doubt and clearing the channels through which abundance flows. When you affirm, God is my financier, you are not trying to create something new. You are aligning with what already is. You are acknowledging the eternal truth that you live in an abundant universe, governed by an infinite source. Faithful affirmation opens your eyes to see the provision that was always there but hidden behind the veil of fear. Think of a radio. The air is full of frequencies, carrying music and voices, but until you tune the dial, you hear nothing. Affirmation is the act of tuning your consciousness to the frequency of abundance. Once tuned, the music of provision plays loudly and clearly. Without faithful affirmation, you drift between static and silence. With it, you lock onto the clear signal of divine supply. Do not despise small beginnings. Sometimes the first fruits of affirmation are modest, an unexpected gift, a small saving, a debt reduced. Rejoice in these, for they are signs that the law is working. Gratitude for small demonstrations attracts larger ones. As you affirm faithfully and rejoice in every proof, the flow increases until it overwhelms every appearance of lack. It is also important to affirm not only for yourself but for others. When you declare abundance for those around you, you expand your own capacity to receive. Speak prosperity over your family, your friends, your community. Say, divine supply flows freely to all. No one is left out of God's abundance. As you widen the circle of your affirmations, your own blessings multiply. Faithful affirmation must also be accompanied by faithful action. Affirm abundance but also live in alignment with it. Give generously, spend joyfully, release grudges, and trust the flow. Affirmation sets the law in motion, but your actions keep the channel open. You cannot affirm abundance while clinging to fear or hoarding in mistrust. To affirm is to act as though the truth is already so. There will be times when fear rises, when appearances scream the opposite of your affirmation. These are the moments that test your faithfulness. Do not waver, do not retreat, do not contradict your word with doubt. Speak louder, speak stronger, and let your faith silence the voice of fear. Affirm even in the storm, and soon the storm will calm. Faithful affirmation attracts provision because it demonstrates unwavering trust. Trust is the currency of heaven. When you show heaven that you trust the unseen more than the seen, you invite miracles. The universe bends to the unshakable faith of one who refuses to doubt. As it is said, according to your faith be it unto you. Affirm faithfully, and it shall be unto you as you have spoken. So let your words be filled with power. Let your affirmations rise like incense, steady and unbroken. Declare daily, I am abundantly supplied. My needs are met with ease. Opportunities flow to me without limit. I am guided to prosperity. God is my unfailing source. Let these words become the rhythm of your life, and watch as the rhythm of provision answers. The day will come when you no longer speak affirmations to attract supply, because you will be living in the full awareness that supply is already yours. Until then, remain faithful. Be patient but persistent, gentle but firm, unwavering but joyful. The law never fails, and faithful affirmation never goes unrewarded. Therefore, hold fast to this truth: your words are creative, your faith is magnetic, and your affirmation is the bridge from the invisible to the visible. Faithful affirmation attracts provision without limit, because God is your financier and His resources are infinite. Speak with faith, live with trust, and abundance will manifest in ways beyond your imagination. Life is filled with changes. Jobs come and go, businesses rise and fall, markets shift, and people move in and out of our lives. At times, these changes feel unsettling, even frightening. We wonder how we will meet our needs when what we relied upon suddenly disappears. Yet in these moments of uncertainty, a greater truth calls to us. Whispering reassurance: channels may change, but the source remains constant. Think of the many ways water flows. A stream may dry up, but that does not mean the ocean has vanished. A river may shift its course, but that does not mean the rain has ceased. In the same way, the flow of provision may appear to close in one direction, yet the infinite source of supply remains untouched, ready to find a new opening, a new path, a new channel through which to bless you. What once supported you may no longer serve, but spirit is never limited to a single door. Too often, we mistake the channel for the source. We look at an employer and think, this is how I am supported. We look at a client or customer and say, this is how I am provided for. We look at a paycheck, a business, or even an investment and think, this is where my money comes from. Yet these are only channels, temporary conduits, instruments that the greater source uses for a season. The true supply is spiritual, invisible, and inexhaustible. It cannot dry up, for it flows from the eternal. When one channel closes, our human instinct is to panic. We say, how will I pay my bills? How will I survive? But in truth, the closing of one channel often means the opening of a greater one. Just as a gardener prunes a tree so it may bear more fruit, so too does life redirect us so that abundance can flow in new, expanded ways. What seems like loss may actually be increase in disguise. Imagine a river that becomes blocked by stones and debris. Does the water cease to exist? No, it simply finds another path. It may carve a new stream, a new direction, and in time that new channel becomes even wider and stronger. Likewise, divine supply will always find you, no matter where you are, no matter what changes around you. It may not come the way you expect, but it will come. For channels may change, but the source remains constant. Let us consider the seasons of life. In youth, we may rely on parents or family for provision. In adulthood, we may rely on careers or businesses. Later, we may rely on investments, savings, or pensions. Each stage has its channels, yet throughout every season the source of life has been the same. You have always been sustained, though the means has shifted. If you look back on your life, you will see moments when a door closed and yet another door opened. You were never truly forsaken. Even when you feared lack, supply still found you. The great lesson here is to release attachment to the form and trust in the formless. Do not cling to one channel as if it is your lifeline. Instead, anchor yourself in the certainty that God is your lifeline. The universe is infinitely creative, and when one avenue ends, countless others are waiting to unfold. Your role is not to dictate how supply must appear, but to remain open, receptive, and faithful. Fear blinds us to new possibilities, but faith opens our eyes. When we believe that the source is constant, we stop worrying about how things will work out. We begin to notice new opportunities, fresh ideas, and unexpected blessings. A chance encounter, a sudden inspiration, a surprising offer. These are the ways Spirit sends provision through new channels. What looks like coincidence is often divine orchestration. Let us take an example. Suppose you lose a job. At first, it feels like disaster. But in time, you may discover that this so-called loss pushes you toward starting your own business, a path that brings greater freedom and income than you ever imagined. Or perhaps you are guided toward a role that aligns with your purpose more deeply, one that you never would have considered had the old door not closed. The job was only a channel. The source remained constant, moving you toward greater abundance. Or imagine that a business deal falls through, you feel disappointment and fear. Yet weeks later, another opportunity arises, one far better than the first. Had you clung to the old channel, you would have missed the greater blessing waiting just beyond it. The closed channel was not punishment, but protection, steering you to a more fruitful path. This is why it is so important to affirm daily, God is my source. Channels may change, but the source remains constant. Let this be the foundation of your thinking, the anchor of your heart. When you hold to this truth, you are unshaken by appearances. Even if the outer forms crumble, you know the inner reality remains untouched. Money itself is not the source, it is only evidence of flow. Jobs are not the source, they are merely one of infinite instruments. People are not the source, they are messengers, vessels, temporary bridges. The source is spirit, infinite and unchanging, and it will always find a way to reach you. We see this principle in nature. The sun rises every day without fail. If clouds cover it, we may not see the light, but the sun remains constant. So it is with divine supply. Appearances may conceal it for a time, but it never ceases to shine. When clouds of fear and doubt disperse, the light of abundance reveals itself once more. When channels shift, do not resist. Flow with the change, knowing that something greater is unfolding. Life is dynamic, always moving, always expanding. To cling to one channel is to limit the infinite. To trust the source is to allow yourself to be carried into ever-expanding good. This truth also teaches us freedom. If a particular person, job, or situation seems to control your supply, remember that it is only a channel. No one person holds your abundance in their hands. No employer, no client, no system can cut you off from the source of all good. Channels may shift, but spirit is infinite. This knowing frees you from fear and dependence. You are not at the mercy of man, you are upheld by the eternal. Even in times of global uncertainty, when economies shake and markets falter, the source does not waver. History has shown that even in times of crisis, people receive unexpected provision, creative ideas, and new ways to thrive. The outer forms may be unstable, but the inner source remains a rock, unmovable and constant. Therefore, cultivate the habit of gratitude for the source, not just the channel. Thank God not only for your paycheck, but for the divine flow that made it possible. Thank God not only for the customer, but for the universal substance that provided through them. Gratitude shifts your focus from the temporary to the eternal, from the limited to the unlimited, and what you focus on expands. Speak words of power. Say, this job is a channel, but God is my source. This business is a channel, but God is my source. This investment is a channel, but God is my source. If one channel closes, another shall open. I cannot be cut off from divine supply. These affirmations rewire your mind, lifting you from fear into faith, from dependence on form to trust in the formless. Over time, you will see how liberating this truth is. You will no longer dread change. Instead, you will welcome it as the movement of spirit guiding you toward greater good. You will see closed doors not as rejection, but as redirection. You will walk with confidence, knowing that the source is eternal and unfailing. Friends, remember this: the channel is never the source. Jobs, people, opportunities, they may come and go, but the source is everlasting. Do not mistake the pipe for the water, nor the branch for the root. The true supply flows from the unseen into the seen, and nothing can stop it. So today, let us release our grip on fear. Let us surrender the illusion of control. Let us trust in the unchanging source of all good. For channels may change, but the source remains constant. Walk in this truth, and you will find that every change is but a doorway to more. Every ending is the beginning of something greater. Every shift is a sign that life is carrying you forward, upward, into a richer experience of divine abundance. Hold fast to the source, and you will never be shaken. Declare it boldly, live it fully, and watch as supply flows to you in ways beyond your imagination. For the source remains forever constant, forever abundant, forever yours. Giving and gratitude open the way for greater receiving, because life itself is a current of energy, and when you place yourself in harmony with that current, you discover that blessings do not run out. They multiply. The person who gives with a generous heart, who releases freely and without fear, is the one who stands in the open flow of divine supply. The individual who gives grudgingly or with hesitation cuts off their own river, because they are operating from the belief that supply is scarce. Yet when you know that God is your financier, when you understand that divine substance is infinite and never-ending, you realize that nothing you give can ever diminish your good. Instead, every gift becomes a seed planted in the fertile ground of spirit, destined to return multiplied. Gratitude is the partner of giving. To give without gratitude is to sow a seed without sunlight. Gratitude shines upon every act of generosity, magnifying its power and calling forth a harvest greater than you can measure. When you live in gratitude, you affirm to the universe that you already stand in abundance. Gratitude says, I am supplied now, I have enough, I live in overflowing good, and spirit always responds to that vibration by delivering more. It cannot do otherwise because like attracts like. Gratitude attracts supply. Consider the person who is always complaining, always finding fault, always dwelling on what they do not have. Such a person shuts the door of their own prosperity, because they are affirming lack. Their words, their thoughts, their emotions, all point to the emptiness they perceive. And life, ever obedient, brings more emptiness to them. But the one who counts blessings even in small things, who thanks God for breath, for shelter, for opportunity, who blesses what is already in hand, this person builds a magnet within their soul. That magnet draws more and more still. Gratitude is not just a polite gesture, it is a spiritual law. Think of a river. When the water flows freely, it is clear and sparkling. When it is blocked, it stagnates. Giving is the act of keeping the river flowing outward. Gratitude is the recognition that the river is alive, abundant, and endless. Together, giving and gratitude ensure that the current never stops. To hold tightly in fear, to clutch and refuse to release, is to dam the river and wonder why life feels stagnant. But to release freely and thankfully is to keep the current rushing, carrying you into new channels of blessing you never imagined. Many people ask, but what if I give and I have little? The truth is that giving is not measured by the size of the gift, but by the spirit in which it is given. A small coin given with joy and trust opens the way for divine multiplication, while a large sum given with resentment or fear bears no fruit. Remember the widow's mite, spirit saw the heart, not the number. What you give in trust becomes a seed in God's garden, and God is a perfect multiplier. You cannot outgive the infinite. Gratitude is equally powerful in moments of seeming lack. When you thank God in advance, when you give thanks not just for what is visible but for what is yet unseen, you are proclaiming faith in the eternal supply. Faith-filled gratitude declares, even before it appears, I know it is mine. That attitude pulls the unseen into the seen, the invisible into the visible. It transforms delay into demonstration. To live a life of giving and gratitude is to rise above fear. Fear says, if I give I will not have enough. Faith says, because I give I will always have enough. Fear says I must hold tightly to what I have. Faith says, I release freely, and I receive freely. Gratitude anchors you in faith, for when you thank God continually, you remind yourself that you are supplied, and that supply flows without limit. This principle is not only spiritual but practical. The person who gives with joy creates goodwill, builds connections, and multiplies opportunities. Gratitude opens doors, changes attitudes, and makes you magnetic to favor. Employers, partners, and friends are naturally drawn to those who radiate gratitude. Life's channels open wide to the grateful heart. On the other hand, the complainer, the miser, the one who clutches tightly to every coin and begrudges every blessing, finds doors closed, opportunities missed, and relationships strained. The law is clear: what you radiate returns to you multiplied. Imagine two farmers. One hoards his seed, fearing he may not have enough to plant. The other sows freely, trusting the ground to bring forth. The hoarder ends with a bag of seed but no harvest. The giver ends with fields overflowing. Life is the same. Your resources are seeds, and when you sow them with gratitude, the harvest cannot be denied. Every gift is a declaration of trust in God's unlimited supply. Every act of gratitude is an invitation for that supply to increase. When you live in this rhythm, giving, receiving, thanking, releasing, you become a channel of circulation. Money, opportunities, ideas, and relationships flow to you and through you. You cease to fear tomorrow, because you know the river of divine substance cannot be exhausted. You give when Spirit directs you, and you thank God in all things. You become a steward of abundance, and abundance never leaves your side. Let me remind you, the source is infinite. You do not depend upon the generosity of man, you depend upon the inexhaustible riches of God. When you give with a spirit of joy, you acknowledge that you are never depleted, for your account is in heaven's bank, and heaven's vaults are always full. Gratitude is your receipt that the supply is already flowing. Giving is your investment in the law of circulation. Together they guarantee increase. So today, dare to give without fear. Dare to thank God for blessings yet unseen. Dare to live as one who knows that lack is a lie, and that supply flows endlessly. Declare, I give freely, I receive abundantly, I thank joyfully, my good cannot be withheld. With such an attitude, every step you take is on solid ground. With such a spirit, you will see miracles in finances, in relationships, in opportunities, in health. Do not wait for abundance to appear before you give thanks. Do not wait until you feel you have extra before you give. Begin where you are. Bless what is in your hand, release what you can with joy, and speak gratitude continually. You will discover that the little in your hand becomes much, and the much becomes more, until you live in overflow. Giving and gratitude open the way for greater receiving, not as a promise only, but as a law. The law is always at work, whether you recognize it or not. When you align with it consciously, miracles become natural. You live no longer in anxiety but in expectancy, knowing that divine supply never ceases. Friends, step into this rhythm today. Make your life an offering of generosity. Make your heart a fountain of thanksgiving. And watch how the windows of heaven open for you, pouring out blessings that overflow. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You will find that you cannot contain the good that comes. It will touch not only your life but the lives of all around you, for God's supply is infinite, and His children are meant to live in abundance. And so I declare with confidence, giving and gratitude are the golden keys to receiving. Use them, and you will never walk in lack. Live them, and you will always walk in plenty. The river flows, the harvest multiplies, and the storehouses of heaven are never empty. Fear and worry block supply. They are the greatest thieves of abundance, the hidden robbers of prosperity, the subtle enemies that keep the door of heaven's storehouse shut. Fear is not simply an emotion, it is a false belief dressed in power, a counterfeit that convinces you that you are cut off from the source of all good. Worry is its companion, whispering lies of scarcity, painting pictures of disaster, and keeping the mind chained to what could go wrong instead of what must go right. When we bow to fear and worry, we take our eyes off the eternal source and fix them upon appearances. We measure our prospects by the size of a bank account, the instability of a job, or the opinions of others. We forget that our provision does not come from man but from God. Fear shrinks the mind into limitation. Worry closes the hand so that nothing new can be received. It is like damming a river with stones of doubt. The current of supply still rushes, but it cannot reach you because your own thoughts have blocked the flow. Supply is always present, always abundant, always pressing to manifest. God never withholds. The universe never runs out. But when fear occupies the heart, it clouds perception. It is like drawing the curtains in a sunlit room. The sun is still shining, but the light is blocked from entering. In the same way, divine supply flows without end, but fear blinds you to its presence and keeps you from stepping into it. Think of a farmer planting seeds. He trusts the law of nature. He does not spend sleepless nights worrying whether the soil will do its part. He does not doubt the rains will come. He plants with faith, waters with confidence, and reaps with joy. But imagine if that farmer, filled with fear, dug up his seeds every day to check if they were growing. The seeds would never sprout because he disturbed their process. That is what worry does. It disturbs the process of manifestation. It uproots the seeds of faith before they can bear fruit. Fear is the language of lack. It repeats, there is not enough. You are not enough. What if you fail? What if you lose everything? Yet faith answers, God is my source. He is infinite. Nothing can run dry. I am safe in His provision. As long as you give fear your attention, you empower it. Whatever you feed grows. Feed your faith with truth, and fear will starve. Feed fear with constant worry, and it will multiply into mountains that appear impossible to move. Understand this: fear and supply cannot occupy the same space. One cancels the other. Where fear rules, supply is blocked. Where faith rules, supply flows. This is not punishment, it is simply the law. Fear magnetizes lack, while faith magnetizes abundance. Fear pulls in struggle, while faith pulls in ease. That is why the heart must be disciplined, the mind must be trained, and the lips must speak only words that align with truth. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve God and fear. To declare, God is my financier, while secretly entertaining thoughts of ruin, is to pour clean water into a cup filled with poison. The water is pure, but the poison contaminates it. Likewise, faith must be free of fear's contamination to release its full power. Think of supply as a great river. It flows endlessly, fed by eternal springs. Your consciousness is like a channel connected to this river. Fear is the debris that clogs the channel. Worry is the mud that narrows the stream. But when faith clears the way, the current flows strong, rushing into your life as health, money, opportunity, and peace. Fear and worry do not only block supply, they also create delay. Many people stand at the edge of breakthrough, yet because they waver in fear, the blessing pauses, waiting for them to align. Blessings are not denied, they are delayed. The law is precise. The supply is yours, but it can only manifest when your inner state matches abundance. Fear is misalignment, faith is alignment. But take heart, fear has no real power of its own. It feeds only on the energy you give it. When you withdraw attention from fear and place it on God's infinite supply, fear dissolves like mist before the sun. You cannot fight fear by resisting it, but you can starve it by refusing to give it your focus. Instead of rehearsing disaster, rehearse supply. Instead of repeating, "What if I lose?" declare, "What if I gain?" Shift the narrative and the flow shifts with it. Many believe that by worrying, they somehow help the situation. They think worry is a form of responsibility, that fear proves their seriousness. But in truth, worry is wasted energy. It does not add a single coin to your purse nor a single day to your life. It only drains strength, clouds vision, and weakens faith. Worry never prevents tomorrow's trouble, it only robs today's peace. Faith, on the other hand, builds tomorrow's blessings while filling today with calm. Faith says, "I may not see how, but I know it is done." Faith rests while still expecting. Faith is active trust, not idle dreaming. And when faith is present, fear flees. Just as darkness cannot remain when light enters, fear cannot remain when faith is affirmed. If you find yourself in fear, do not despair. Begin with words, for words shape reality. Declare, "Fear has no power over me. I refuse to worry. My supply is endless, my provision secure, for God is my source." Speak it again and again until it saturates your subconscious. Words are like chisels carving new pathways in the mind. Each affirmation chips away the stone of fear and reveals the river of faith beneath. Visualization is another tool. Instead of playing mental movies of disaster, imagine streams of supply rushing toward you. See yourself paying every bill with joy, giving freely, living in overflow. Let the vision be so real that it replaces fear's images. The mind cannot hold two pictures at once. Fill it with abundance, and fear's image dissolves. Remember, fear thrives in uncertainty, but faith thrives in certainty. Fear says, "What if?" Faith says, "Even if." Fear clings to conditions. Faith rests in source. Fear lives in the future. Faith lives in the now. Each time you choose faith over fear, you strengthen the supply chain between you and God's infinite storehouse. Each time you silence worry and speak truth, you clear the channel of blessing. Over time, supply flows faster, smoother, with greater ease because nothing stands in its way. Those who live in fear often attract the very thing they dread. Worry focuses energy on lack, and what you focus on expands. Fear is like planting weeds instead of seeds. It multiplies what you do not want. Faith is planting flowers. It multiplies beauty and provision. What garden will you grow? Consider this. The birds do not worry about their next meal, yet they are fed. The lilies of the field do not toil, yet they are clothed more beautifully than kings. If nature is so cared for, how much more will you be supplied? Fear forgets this truth. Worry denies it. But faith remembers and rests in it. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. Every need you have is already answered in spirit. Supply is already yours, waiting for you to clear the path by releasing fear. Let go of the anxious grip. Trust the unseen hand that never fails. Make this your declaration each morning. Today I refuse to fear. I release all worry. My heart is open, my mind is steady, my supply flows freely. Nothing can block what is mine by divine right. Carry these words in your spirit and watch how doors open, how opportunities appear, how money comes in ways you never imagined. Fear and worry may knock, but you need not open the door. Let faith answer. Let joy welcome. Let gratitude guard the entrance. Then, instead of scarcity, you will entertain abundance. Instead of loss, you will host increase. And when you walk in this truth long enough, fear loses its voice. Worry fades into silence. You stand tall in unshakable faith, knowing beyond doubt that supply is always flowing, always sufficient, always unlimited. Fear cannot live in such a place. It has no soil in which to grow. So remember this eternal truth. Fear and worry block supply, but faith and trust release it. Choose this day which master you will serve. If you serve fear, you live in lack. If you serve faith, you live in overflow. Supply is always ready, always near. Open the way, and it will rush to meet you. To live as an heir of divine riches is to walk through life clothed in certainty, wrapped in confidence, and carried by an invisible current that never fails. It is to know in the deepest part of your soul that you were never born into lack, never destined for struggle, never cut off from supply. You were born into inheritance. You were born into abundance. You were born into the riches of God. And when you awaken to this truth, your life is transformed in every direction. Many people walk the earth as beggars when they were created as heirs. They pray timidly, they work fearfully, they live anxiously, always wondering if they will have enough. But this posture is not the posture of an heir. An heir does not worry whether the inheritance exists. And hare does not ask if the treasure is real. The hare simply claims what is already promised. In the same way, you are called to step into your divine inheritance with boldness, knowing that God has already provided more than you can ever need. When you live as an heir of divine riches, you stop asking life to give you scraps. You stop thinking small and fearing loss. You no longer look at the world through eyes of lack. Instead, you begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You see channels of blessing where others see closed doors. You realize that the universe is not against you, it is for you. The river of divine supply is flowing toward you, and nothing can block it when you know your position as an heir. This transformation begins first in the mind. It is not about chasing money or running after material possessions. It is about a shift in consciousness. When you align your mind with the truth that abundance is your birthright, everything around you begins to change. The outer world always mirrors the inner world. If you believe you are lacking, life reflects lack. If you believe you are overflowing, life reflects overflow. The inheritance of riches begins in the invisible realm of thought and faith, and from there it manifests into the visible. Living as an heir of divine riches means that you no longer measure your life by appearances. You may look at your bank account today and see small numbers, but you know that this is not the final word. You may look at your circumstances and see delay, but you know that God's timing is perfect. You may face a bill or a need, but instead of trembling, you speak with authority. I am an heir of divine riches. All that I require is already provided. That declaration shifts the atmosphere. It changes your vibration. It calls forth substance from the unseen into the seen. The hare lives differently from the one who doubts. The hare speaks differently, walks differently, expects differently. The hare does not shrink back in fear but steps forward in faith. You begin to carry yourself with dignity, because you know that your Father is the owner of the universe. You stop begging for blessings and start expecting blessings. You stop competing for limited resources and start creating with unlimited supply. Transformation happens when you accept that wealth is not outside of you but within you. The riches of God are not locked away in a vault somewhere in the sky. They are embedded in your spirit, written into your destiny, woven into your being. As you expand your awareness, you begin to draw them out. Ideas, opportunities, divine connections, all flow to the one who lives as an heir. You no longer chase money because money begins to chase you. You no longer worry about how things will happen because you trust that they must happen. Think of the child of a king. Does the child wonder if there will be food tomorrow? Does the child fear being cast out of the palace? No. The child walks with assurance, knowing that provision is guaranteed. In the same way, you are the child of the infinite. You dwell in a palace not made with hands, and your inheritance is never in danger. When you remember this, fear melts away, anxiety dissolves. You walk with peace, and that peace itself becomes magnetic, drawing supply from every corner of existence. Living as an heir of divine riches also transforms your relationship with giving. You no longer give out of fear, thinking that you will not have enough left. You give with joy, because you know that supply replenishes endlessly. Every seed you release multiplies. Every act of generosity returns pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You understand that hoarding is a sign of fear, while generosity is the language of faith. The hare gives freely, and in return, receives freely. Another transformation happens in your speech. Words are powerful tools, containers of substance. When you live as an hare, your language shifts. You stop saying, I can't afford this, or I don't know how I'll make it. You start saying, my supply is endless, my needs are met, and abundance flows to me from every direction. Those words are not empty, they are decrees. They send forth vibrations that attract corresponding manifestations. The hare speaks life, and life responds. This way of living also transforms how you handle challenges. The person who believes in lack trembles when faced with obstacles. But the hare knows that every challenge is simply a stepping stone to greater provision. You face setbacks with confidence, because you know that nothing can rob you of what belongs to you by divine right. You refuse to accept defeat, because you understand that the river of supply will always carve a new path. Closed doors do not intimidate you, because you know that greater doors are waiting to open. As you live this way, peace becomes your companion. Joy becomes your atmosphere. You are no longer tossed about by the storms of the world. Economic downturns do not shake you. Recessions do not frighten you. Job loss does not devastate you. Why? Because you know that none of these are your source. God is your source. The inheritance cannot be touched by worldly systems. It cannot be diminished by man. It is eternal, flowing limitless. Living as an heir of divine riches also transforms how you see others. When you know that supply is infinite, you no longer envy anyone. You no longer compete or compare. You rejoice in the success of others, because you know that their blessing does not reduce yours. You celebrate their increase, because you know that increase is your destiny as well. This attitude of love and goodwill expands your own flow of riches, because what you send out always returns multiplied. You begin to live more fully in gratitude. Gratitude becomes the key that unlocks even more blessings. Each day you give thanks, not only for what you see but for what you know is on its way. Gratitude keeps you aligned with your inheritance. It keeps you in the vibration of receiving. The more grateful you are, the more reasons you find to be grateful. Gratitude turns the ordinary into extraordinary and the invisible into visible. Your transformation also extends to your vision for life. When you accept that you are an heir of divine riches, you dare to dream bigger dreams. You stop shrinking to fit the world's expectations and begin to expand into God's vision for you. You step into new ventures, explore new opportunities, and create boldly. You no longer think, "What if I fail?" Instead, you think, "What if I soar?" You trust that every step you take is backed by the infinite resources of heaven. Living as an heir also changes your identity. You stop calling yourself poor, unlucky, or struggling. You begin to identify as prosperous, blessed, and overflowing. You carry yourself as one who knows who they are. That identity becomes magnetic. People see the confidence in your eyes, hear the authority in your voice, and feel the power in your presence. Opportunities gravitate toward you because you embody abundance. Finally, this transformation brings freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from lack, freedom from the prison of worry. You live with open hands and open heart, knowing that you are supported by an inexhaustible source. You wake up each day with anticipation, expecting good, expecting miracles, expecting supply. You walk through life as a radiant heir, shining light wherever you go, and in doing so, you inspire others to claim their own inheritance. So I declare to you today, live as an heir of divine riches. Refuse to bow to the illusion of lack. Refuse to settle for less than what is yours by divine right. Walk boldly into your inheritance. Speak it, expect it, embody it. For when you live as an heir, your life will be transformed. Your finances will flourish, your opportunities will multiply, your joy will overflow, and your peace will be unshakable. You were not born to beg. You were born to inherit. You were not created for lack. You were created for abundance. God is your financier, and the riches of the universe are your rightful supply. Step into them, live them, embody them, and watch as your life unfolds in miracles of provision, favor, and endless flow. For the truth is eternal. You are an heir of divine riches, and when you live in that truth, your life is transformed forever.